Great. Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful, but rainy. That doesn't mean it's not beautiful. Thursday, September 25th, year of our Lord 2025. My Bacardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 9:15 and change. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. Broadcasting today from the United States of America. I can prove it because it's the place for the brave. Like the veterans we salute today, thanks to John Basiliga and his great Basiliga hospitality. The people who made us and kept us free. Like Paul Hill, Scranton. Richard Jones, Dunmore. Rudy Casarda, Falls Township. Frank Larkin, Scranton. Kenneth and Richot, Shikshinny. And Daniel Schultz, Orangeville. The United States of America. The place founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible, indispensable, amazing founding fathers that government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our salvation. Not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom couldn't be parceled out to groups. It couldn't be controlled by government or government officials because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press, because we'll get it right no matter what they say. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace this beautiful planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose. Unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed. Unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And yes, the double entendre is intended. So with our commitment to common sense, we promise that we will be able to provide for all of you a sanctuary of sanity as we gavel this meeting of the Club for Common Sense to order. So much going on, but dear Lord, isn't it? It's like every day is like 7 news days. I mean, it really is this. Oh, dear Lord. Anyway, our man, David DeCosmo, he gives us our local history. And we have a disastrous mass murder that shocked and rocked Northeast Pennsylvania. And he's on to talk to us about that. And you could tell he's here because March of the Cue Balls by Henry Mancini, his theme song, is playing. David, welcome back to the Bob Cordaro Show.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. Good morning to you.
Yeah. So tell me, let's start from the beginning. George Banks. Wow.
Yeah. This is, of course, the anniversary of the biggest mass killing that we've had. It was the largest mass killing in the United States since 1966 when it happened. Banks was a former prison guard, but Bobby had also been a prison inmate. He had a very varied background. And on this date, in 1982, he drove to the Heather Highlands trailer park in Jenkins Township. He had an AR-15 rifle in his arms, and he slaughtered 4 people there, including a son that he had been involved in a custody battle for weeks and weeks before that, although that was supposed to be settled. And then he drives to Schoolhouse Lane in Wilkes-Barre, where he opens fire on people there, killing 7 inside the house, and he shot 2 people outside the house, and one of them died. So 13 victims in all. 5 of them were his own children, and a couple of the women involved were considered to be his common-law wives at one time or another. So there's a big manhunt, of course. This all started around 2 a.m. Saturday, September 25th of 82.
When were you alerted as a news guy? Yeah, when were you alerted?
I got called out about 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock. At that point, we knew there had been a mass shooting. At that point, we didn't know it had been in 2 locations. And my cameraman at the time was Bob Dennis, and I remember meeting him on a street corner in downtown Wilkes-Barre where there were a mess of police around. They thought that Banks had been seen in that area. And as quickly as I arrived and met up with Bob, the police scattered somewhere else, apparently another report from being cited. And I'll never forget the feeling that Bob and I are standing in a place where they thought he had been seen, and all of a sudden the police leave, and we wound up chasing them as they were chasing Banks.
So they identified him almost immediately?
Yes.
Okay.
He had talked. He was holed up at that point in a home on Monroe Street, which was the home that was a friend of his had owned the home. And the friend's mother happened to call that home, and Banks answered. And he knew her. He talked with her respectfully on the phone and said, "I've done something awful. I've killed my family." And she tried to talk him out, and he would not come out. So the news media is now converging on this home on Monroe Street. That was 28 Monroe. I was literally...
About what time, roughly?
Oh, boy, this is before noon.
Okay.
Right before noon. So I'm lying on the ground in my suit behind a porch. He was at 28. I was at probably 30 or 32 Monroe, again, lying on the ground, sticking my microphone out. Because what happened was his mother tried to get a hold of him and he refused to come out. He was still armed, and a man that he knew for some time, Robert Brunson was his name, and he actually came out in front of the house and was talking to Banks for a long time. Now, there was a very, very controversial incident that happened during all this, and WILK was involved. The district attorney, Robert Gillespie, requested that a number of stations broadcast a false news report in which it was stated that that all the people are still alive, but in critical condition, thinking that would lure him out. I have to tell you, this is a debate until this day. I understand the thought, the good meaning behind this, but I always disapproved of it, and I have to say that were I the man asked, I would not have done that. And one sole reason: news people have one thing, and that's credibility. And if you lose that credibility, you've got nothing. So if you tell people a false report on one day, then should they believe what you're reporting the next day, or has someone else influenced you there?
Although that was a different age and time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Brunson talked to him. Now, all that time, he was on occasion in the sights of a couple of county detectives, including the late Jim Zardecki, who apparently had a good chance at doing a sniper shot and taking Banks out. He was not given the green light, but I talked to Jim before he passed away, and Jim told me he would not have taken the shot, probably even if given the go-ahead, because his fear was if it wasn't a fatal shot, Banks would open up, and there were so many people, yes, granted, staked out around there, but the odds are somebody else would have been hit. I don't think he would have been able to get me. I was off to the left behind that porch. But there were enough people in the area that could have been killed.
Now,
or
at this
wounded.
point, at some point, like mid-morning, they knew the horror of what he'd done at the trailer park and in Wilkes-Barre, right? They realized,
Yes.
wow.
Yes, neighbors had heard the shots at the trailer park. They even one neighbor even claimed they heard him yell out, "I'm going to kill all of you." And then the gunfire opens up there, and now he moves down to Schoolhouse Lane after that. So they were well aware they were dealing with a mass killer, the extent of which became known fairly rapidly. Banks eventually did surrender. It was really taken into custody without any immediate threat. He put down his rifle and gave up. He was tried. He was convicted of 13 counts of murder. He was sentenced to 12 death sentences and 1 life sentence. That was in '83, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually came within, I'm told, within a day of being executed in 2004, when he underwent a competency hearing, and a couple psychiatrists and a psychologist described him as being delusional and irrational, and Judge Michael Conahan, who has some other notoriety to his name, dealing, he was involved in the Kids for Cash controversy, but he declared him mentally incompetent and therefore unable to rationally understand the death sentence and its complications and its implications. And so Banks remains in prison to this day. I talked with his attorney, Al Flora, must have been almost a year ago now, maybe a little less. I was hoping to perhaps talk him into an interview with Banks that I might do for Electric City Television. And Flora told me, Dave, he's irrational. He doesn't know what he's saying or wouldn't understand what the question. So Al would not give me permission to do that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of attention to the case today being the anniversary. 22 and 28 have done a piece already, and I think they've got a podcast in the works, which I may be involved in. But, Bob, at that point, the term mass shooting was almost unheard of. As I said, the biggest mass killing before that was a man in Texas that shot 15 people in 1966. And now, unfortunately, that term has become a little bit too common for us. But we remember it on this day in this area because of George Banks.
Well, fortunately, it is still shocking to all of us, but the George Banks massacre, it devastating. How did people react to it, David? They must have been just, what? I mean, they must have just been confused that this could possibly happen at this scale.
Well, first of all, for several hours, people were being basically told to shelter in place because they didn't initially know where he was. I know my daughters were scheduled to go to some sort of event involving their school, although it was a Saturday. There was some sort of event, and that was put on hold. But ironically, I've often said, were I to write a book on my news adventures, not personal but news, the title would be "I Never Thought That Anything Like That Could Happen Around Here." Yeah. And those comments were certainly what you heard from everybody back in September of 1982.
Amazing. The George Banks murders. Wow. David Cosmo, thank you as always. We appreciate you taking the time to inform us and remind us and also expand on what we know about the George Banks murders. We appreciate it, and we look forward to your next roll down history lane here.
Thank you, Bob. As always, I hope all your news is good.
All right. David DeCosmo. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Our great Veterans Tribute, this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. We feature today just one of his great companies, Basiliga Hospitality, as we head towards the weekend. 3 great bar restaurants. Old Brook Inn, 307 Springbrook Township. Far Street Tavern in West Scranton, the Trips Park section. Queen City Tavern, downtown Oliphant. And then fine dining, the best. Atera 519 Linden Street, downtown Scranton. The Stegmeyer Mansion, downtown Wilkes-Barre, South Franklin Street. And no cover tonight at Sergei's, the nightclub. Frank Larkin. We lost him October 1st. He was 84 years old. Survived by his wife of 55 years, Rosalie Vladika Larkin. He was born in Scranton, a graduate of Scranton Prep, University of Scranton, a veteran of the United States Navy, where he spent 4 years as a corpsman with the medical service at Bethesda Naval Hospital. He was a member of St. Paul's Parish. Known to his family as Bud or his students as Mr. Larkin or the occasional Stubby. That's how I knew him. He was a Dunmore School District teacher for 31 years. Just a great guy. Tennis coach as well. He taught biology, nutrition, environmental science, and of course coached tennis. He loved Dunmore High School. He loved the kids. Always great with them. And we loved him. He loved spending time at Elk Lake. And he bought a house on Sensantine Road, driving his golf cart around to check with friends. Survived by 3 daughters, all of whom he called his number 1 daughter, depending on who was in nearest earshot. Also surviving, in addition to his wife and those 3 daughters, 7 grandchildren. 4 sisters, a sister-in-law, nieces, nephews, and other family. A great guy. I never knew he served. Frank Larkin. Another guy I knew and admired, Rudolph Casarda. He died at age 86 on February 8th this year. He was from Falls Township. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren when he passed away at Providence Mission Hospital in Mission Viejo, California. His wife, Helen, passed away in 2022. They'd been married in 1961. Rudy was born in Forest City, graduate of the great Benjamin Franklin High School in Carbondale, received a bachelor's degree in health and physical education from McNeese State in Louisiana, then received a master's from East Stroudsburg. Very prominent referee. He was everywhere in the sporting environment around Northeast Pennsylvania, Lackawanna County. He was a United States Marine veteran, prominent teacher and coach in Northeast Pennsylvania, past member of Immaculate Conception Church, Scranton, and currently a member of the Church of St. Benedict, Dalton. Member of Emanon Country Club. He and I shared our love of the Raiders, the old Lokeland Raiders. Survived by 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and many other family members. The great Rudy Casarda. Our veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. Check them out. It's the weekend. Storm Tracker 16 forecast. It's not a great one, although we need the rain. I'm not kidding about this. Meteorologist Joe Snedeker, our buddy, he tells us today cloudy and muggy with rain. 72 degrees. Tonight, cloudy with rain tapering off, so I guess it's an all-day thing, low of 62. Friday, partly sunny with a chance of a shower, 75. Saturday, partly sunny, 77. Sunday, partly sunny, 75 degrees. You need a washout now and then. You really do. I hear the rain beating down on the roof here at the studios, where it tells me it's 69 degrees outside. I was supposed to golf today. I even have the little get-up on, but that doesn't look promising at the moment. Elvis. Murph tells us this date, 1956. Love Me Tender. I don't know how this could happen because you had to go to record stores at the time, but it sold over 1 million copies before its release. The only single ever to do that. I'm going to have to get Joe Nardone to let me know how it's possible to pre-sell a record. Its release is its release. Interesting. Hey, by the way, on our friend Frank Stubby Larkin, my old teacher, Mr. Paul texted an advisor to the school newspaper, the Crimson Courier, as well. And our friend Mary Regina said loved Mr. Larkin and dedicated her yearbook to Frank Larkin. Great stuff. Oh, he was a good guy. Really, truly good guy. Let's go to the blower. We got Bill from Pittston. Hi, Bill. Bill, are you there? Did I press the right button? Bill? There
yep,
you are.
I'm here.
There you are, Bill. We got you.
Well, I did it. I read it cover to cover, and if it wasn't so serious, I think it was a self-parody.
The Kamala book?
She is one of these people. There's 9 people in the room witnessing the same thing. 8 people say almost virtually the same thing, and she says stuff that you wonder if she's on the same planet. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Just the way she even describes how she picked Waltz. Here's what she says about him. This is how delusional she is. She said, just because he couldn't read a teleprompter wasn't a problem. Here was a guy who knew how to put an engine together, a guy who could talk knowingly to a farmer about hogs and soybeans, a guy who knew what it meant to hunt and fall and put food in the freezer to last through winter.
Oh, Lord.
You know, and it's just going on and on.
And it was all phony. The funny part about it was all phony. That's what he faked at. Oh, my gosh. Well, she's gullible enough. And by the way, they don't care what the reality is. They care what they can get away with. So they can create an image of him, create an image of Biden, create an image of her, which was at complete odds with the reality and the truth. Wow.
Absolutely. She writes this as if everybody else is losing their head in the moment of crisis, and she keeps her head. And how unlucky we are that we didn't elect her, because she was in the closest election in the 21st century.
Which was a lie. That's what you made that statement.
Yeah, just the stuff that she said about the governor. She talked about, I told him bluntly that he had unrealistic expectations. Vice president is not a co-president. I had a nagging concern he'd be unable to settle for a role as number two. You know, the word that comes to mind, she's so superior, supercilious. She really thinks she is so superior to everybody. And if she was in command, oh, my God, we just looked to her. Like when Waltz was debating J.D., she said, she yelled at the screen, "You're not supposed to be his best friend. You're supposed to debate him." And if I had been able to coach him, he would have done much better. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's popular. There's so many like little explosions going on, not major ones, but like her husband gets pulled over by Mrs. Biden. Jill pulls him over and says, "Are you with us or not? If you're not," and then her husband exploded and said, "They hid you all this time, and now all of a sudden they wonder if you're loyal." It's just ridiculous. So I'm putting it in my castaway pile, and I'll hand it on to you, and you can cast away at whatever you choose.
All right. Well, make sure you
but
say
it's worth
hello
reading
this
just
time.
For the laugh.
Well, you've got to look at somebody like her when she's going to express things in her own words with a lot of help, I'm sure. But these are her thoughts. This is what the pea brain of Kamala Harris actually believes. So there's value in it, because that's how you get to the lunacy of the left. That's how you get to the delusion of the left.
Yeah, she says in one spot that David Plouffe that whole debacle on The View. She said, "I didn't realize people really wanted to know differences. I thought it was assumed, but it didn't really hit me until Plouffe told me people hate Joe Biden. Then I realized I had to stand on my own 2 feet." You know,
the one of the craziest claims is there wasn't enough time. She was fading in an accelerating fashion in the election, because as people really got to know her, she had glossed over with a false image all of these years as senator, vice president, attorney general, all that. And once they got to know her, things got really worse and really quickly.
You hit the nail on the head, because when you read this book, the more you get to know her, the more you dislike her. Sooner would have been better for her.
Crazy. Well, thank you, Bill, for that synopsis. I will go through it. When you drop it off here, I'll go through it. All right?
Okay.
We'll compare notes. Bill from Pittston. Thank you, my friend. All right. Well, we've got Lorraine. She's got a poem. But we've got let's get her in here. Lorraine, how are you, my dear? We gotta condense it a little bit, but I'm so excited to hear from you. I said we'll delay the Bloomberg Money Minute.
Oh, geez, I'm glad I took precedence.
You did over the news. That's a big deal.
Well, I'm news too. Okay. Oh, it's so dreary up here. It's pathetic. Okay. I'll read my poem, okay? Autumn Memories. The sun was shining very brightly. There was that familiar chilly nip in the air. And as I glanced all around me, I could see piles of leaves strewn everywhere. While walking to school on autumn mornings, I remember purposely shuffling my feet through them. If I stared at the colors long enough, I could imagine myself searching for a pretty gem. Memories of the crackling and crunching of the leaves bring a special smile to my face. It seems like it was just yesterday when life appeared to travel at a slower pace. There was a happy feeling in the good old days. The surroundings were ever so serene. To me, the world was a happier place. If only I could return and recreate a pleasant scene.
Very nice, Lorraine. Although, do you have a rainy day poem?
Well, that
If you
I
got
don't
a rainy,
know, I don't know.
just bear with me. If you have a rainy day poem, I want you to call back again. Go through your stack of compositions and see if you have something on a rainy day. It would be perfect for a day like today. This is like a Cat in the Hat day. Remember the Cat in the Hat book, the original?
No, I never read it.
Oh yeah, the kids had to stay home because it was raining, and then the Cat in the Hat came and created all kinds of chaos. And then just as the parents were returning, he cleaned it all up. This is a Cat in the Hat day.
Well, I know I have one about perception or deception. Did I read that to you last week, or was that somebody else I wrote?
Oh, dear Lord. Somebody,
I don't know.
You're cheating. That's what's going on here.
Yeah, I'm noted for that.
Lorraine, I love that one. I liked it. But if you have a rainy day poem, you can call us back. All right?
Okay, well, it's semi-rainy, but I think I'll see what it reads. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Lorraine from Hazleton on a rainy day in Northeast Pennsylvania. We'll take a break and we'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Murph tells us that Roy Orbison, he moved up to number 4 this date, 1961, with his hit Crying. Well, my Picardo jeweler watch tells me all I need to know. It's not a Raymond Weil. They have that. It's not Breitling. It's not Oris. It's not Longines. It's not Michelle. It's not a Shinola watch. It's not a Luminox watch. It's not a Swiss Army watch. It's not a Seiko watch. It's not a Tory Burch watch. It's not Victorinox watch. It's a Picardo's watch. And it tells me 10 o'clock and change. We got to go. The news. We'll be back after this. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. My Picardo's Jeweler watch tells me it's 10:09 and change here in the great Northeast. What I guess is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Thursday, September 25, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values. And with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like my old pal Rudy Casarda, Falls Township. My old friend and teacher, Frank Larkin. Kenneth Richot, Chick-Shinny. Daniel Schultz, Orangeville. My old friend Richard Jones, Dunmore. And Paul Hill, West Scranton. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. Hey, Bulldog, we got to find that song, Stick Out Your Can. Play it when you're ready. You let me know. Because I got my garbage picked up today. Now, I took the recycling cans in because they'll accept the rain and sort of, that's my fake way of washing them, cleaning them a little bit. I left my garbage cans out today, not only because I was running a little late, but also because we'll get a little water in there and, keep them clean or relatively clean. And, but that's our guys, our DPW's out, and they're out there in the rain. I want you to know that they're out there in the rain, the cold. I love our mailmen. But the same is true of our DPW. And we play this song in tribute to our DPW workers all throughout Northeast Pennsylvania. And my man Homer, who gave me my new fluorescent green long sleeve Dunmore DPW t-shirt. I think I'll wear it tomorrow. I was golfing today, Homer. That's why I couldn't wear it. We love our garbage guys. We love our DPW. And if you don't, you should. Well, the 10 o'clock hour here on the Bob Cordaro Show, and that's a great way to start it from my perspective. A couple of texts I want to get into. Someone texted, I don't think Trump is doing anything for the working poor. Why isn't he sending out some kind of check to help us? Well, let me tell you what he did for the working poor and the middle class. He increased the child tax credit, which, by the way, he had doubled in his first term. He did it, not anybody else. Donald Trump did it. That's number one. Number two, he eliminated taxes on tips for your first 25 grand in tips. Number three, no tax on overtime. Number four, a tax credit for Social Security recipients. What do you mean he hasn't done anything for the working poor? You just want a check sent to you? Come on, stop it. You could be a troll, I don't know, or you could have been sincere, but you're not paying attention. He's done more for the working poor and middle class in this country than I have seen in my lifetime. It's really remarkable. And by the way, thanks to Rob Bresnahan and Danny Muser, and Dave McCormick, who helped get it across the finish line. By the way, Tom from Dallas, this is great. He says, our baby was born September 10th, 3:20 in the morning. I haven't been with you since then. I've been with the wife and the new baby. helping my wife get back on her feet, but I'm glad to be back listening LTS. LTS, and congratulations to you, Tom. Let the baby listen to me. They do this with my grandchildren. And then the kids get used to yelling and loud noises, and they adapt to just about anything after they listen to this show. So there you go. Somebody says, hey, Bob, I never agree with that stupid concept. Someone is declared insane, so you can't execute them for horrible things they've done. He doesn't know what he did. Great. He doesn't know we're going to kill him. You got a point there. And while David was telling me that he didn't understand, George Banks didn't understand the consequences or whatever was going to happen when he was killed, I'm against the death penalty. I tell you that right out. But if you're going to have a death penalty, if he was of sound mind for the trial, which is critical and I think foundational for our system of justice, if he was, then I don't know why you can't continue. And I mean, because you are keeping him in prison. It's not like you're letting him loose. So why can't you carry out the sentence? I agree with you. Somebody else texted in regarding the George Banks story by David DeCosmo. Excellent portrayal, David. Thanks for having him on, Bob. I grew up and my parents were living a block away from Schoolhouse Lane. My family were friends with the Hall family. I was a freshman at Penn State at a football tailgate party when I heard. To this day, I wondered how and why did he end up at Schoolhouse Lane. I wish I saw this. I would have asked David. He might have known this. Another text. Bob, read this text for Chris Kelly. I'm sure he's listening. And we wish you all the best, Chris. We hope that some people start to read your column and actually more so, we hope you become less insane. We hope you recover from your illness. They continue, Chris, why don't you write an editorial about the upcoming government shutdown demanding free health care for illegal immigrants? That's what the Democrats are doing. That's what they're forcing on the table. If you don't give us free health care for illegal immigrants and transgender operations on innocent children, we're going to shut the government down. So he says, please, Chris, defend the Democrat Party you cherish so much and explain to your readers why the American people should support the shutdown that the Democrats are creating. I agree. Oh, he will. He will, because I remember him writing a story about veterans. And all of a sudden it wanders into Donald Trump. I'm like, what? These great veterans were reminiscing about a fallen comrade. And all of a sudden, it's about Donald Trump as this undercurrent. He's ill. He's ill. He's afraid to come on the show. And Chris, I'll say it again. This is day, 3? You are welcome to call into the show anytime. Anytime. Please do. We'd love to hear your views. Well, we wouldn't love to hear your views, but we'd be happy to listen to your views. Somebody back on the George Banks. Bob, when this happened, we were getting gas at the station right down the street on our way to the Who concert in Philly. We wondered what was going on. Cabinet guy. And that's something. Something unprecedented, that's for sure. Bob, what would make you think you could golf today after seeing the forecast? You really are an optimist. LTS, I am. Well, no, this is a tournament scheduled up Scranton Country Club, and I'd been invited a month ago. And it does not matter. But since it's called off, we won't even go up and drink, so that's sort of sad. Now, Sean from Larksville says, Bob, I would think you can pre-buy the record before it came out, so you'd be guaranteed to get one. I've bought CDs before, says Sean from Larksville. Maybe that's the concept. Listen, if Joe Nardone is listening, I'd love to know, how did you pre-buy a record? The way Murph had it worded, it seemed like they got the record somehow. And I mean, would you give them money and then wait for I don't know. But 1 million of the Love Me Tenders sold. Another, I so enjoy when Mr. DeCosmo speaks of the news stories and history of our area, from the Agnes flood to Chappaquiddick to mine disasters. Just very informative. But according to Mr. Kelly, Wilkes has no journalists. We got more journalists than the Scranton Times. Certainly we have better editorial control than the Scranton Times, because they let lunatics write anything they want, no matter whether it's a lie, whether it's delusional. It doesn't matter. That's our horrible paper. Fred Duckman says, Bob, the tune Love Me Tender. He's really a music expert, our man Fred. He says, was originally a tune called Ara Lee. Vaughn Monroe recorded it years before Elvis did with new lyrics. Elvis came with new lyrics. How about that? Check it out if you like. So it was Ara Lee, the predecessor. Fascinating. Mike from Moscow, he says, hey, Bob, LTS, does Tylenol affect pregnant men the same way? Asking for a liberal. I saw this, Mike, and I spit out my tea. I did. Thank you. Another, Walt's running as a Ronald Reagan conservative with blue dungarees, driving all over the state of Minnesota in an SUV, old school Rambler type vehicle, begging for the MAGA vote because his transgender agenda numbers are not now in the toilet, are not in the toilet anymore. They're now in the sewer. Phony as a sickening human being. Bob, I got a great commercial for Tim Walt's reelection. Circle him with a bunch of burn barrels in an empty dirt field. Fill the burn barrels. Let's see if I can read the rest of this. With all the tampons he put in the boys' bathrooms. Have Waltz stand in the middle of the burn barrels, setting them on fire. Tim Waltz, total fraud. He really is disgusting. Somebody said, I listened to the full episode. Mike dropped yesterday. Great episode. And somebody, Lee, remembering Rudy Casarda, great and crazy coach and teacher. He really was. What a character. Pastor Mitch checking in. Top of the morning to you, Bob. May God's power and wisdom be your navigator through life. LTS, bro. Thank you, Pastor Mitch. I appreciate it so much. We were with another great clergyman last night, Father Muldowney. Good man, good man. He's up at St. Catherine's up in Moscow. Another, limiting tax on tips is so stupid. I mean, hey, it's great for those that it affects, but how many people work for tips? Lots of people do. Lots of people do. Think of the hairdressers. Think of the, obviously, waiters, waitresses, bartenders. A lot of people work for tips. How about delivery people? A lot of people work for tips. Now, come on. They continue. So somebody making $15 an hour is getting taxed more than somebody who works at a restaurant and makes tips. That's just stupid. I can't believe apparently intelligent adults put that through. You're giving me a non sequitur. It's a total non sequitur. If you work in an area that gets tips, it's a benefit to you. How does it harm someone else? And by the way, the person who's getting $15 an hour is not paying tax on the overtime. So it's a home run for the working people, which they deserve. Bob, the Republicans must get out and vote. The midterms are so important. If we lose the midterms, another fake impeachment and most of the Trump agenda won't be implemented. Amen. But this fall is a critical election. Absolutely critical. We've got 3 insane Supreme Court justices. You have to vote no. We've got to vote out the mayor of Scranton. We've got to get Chet Murley and his Lackawanna County commissioner and change the majority in Lackawanna County. We've got county council seats in Luzerne County. Supreme Court idiots, Wecht, Donahue, Doherty. Vote them out, please. They're a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Somebody says, how can the Democrats be responsible for the shutdown if Republicans run the executive and legislative branches? Because in the Senate, you have to have 60 votes. The Republicans only have 54. And so they need 6 Democrats to join with them to override the filibuster threshold. And that's why, if they don't have over 60 senators, which they should after this next election, the Democrats have not changed course. They're insane. But right now, Chuck Schumer et al. Can clog up the works and probably will. So that's why. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll come back. We got some phone calls we got to get to. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour. This day and every day brought to you by our friend and super patriot, John Basiliga. Featuring today just one of his great companies, Basiliga Hospitality. The Old Brook Inn, Far Street Tavern, Queen City Tavern, three of the greatest bar restaurants you'll ever go to. And then fine dining, a Terra, modern fine dining at its best anywhere. The Stegmeyer Mansion, downtown Wilkes-Barre. Awesome. Just awesome. Bringing you back to another era. And guess what? Sergei's the nightclub. They're open tonight. Kenneth Richot. He was just 70 when he died September 13th. He was from Shikshini. He passed away following injuries sustained in a house fire. Born in Riverside, California. A graduate of La Sierra High School out there. He spent the past 20 years living in Shikshini after moving there from drums. He was a truck driver for many local transport systems. J.B. Hunt, MS Carriers, Bolus Freight Systems. He was a U.S. Navy veteran of the Vietnam War, having served on the U.S. Enterprise 1973 to 1976. He was a member of the Protestant faith and the American Legion post in Shikshini. He attended many borough council meetings there, contributing to changes he believed would keep the community safer. He and his wife could often be spotted at the Main Street Bar and Grill in Macanaqua. Animal lover. He loved hunting, but then recently became a target shooter. He saw life through the lens of the camera, through sketchpad, pencils, paper. Artwork was displayed in many local institutions. Surviving are his beloved and devoted wife, the former Betty Mae Wolf, to whom he was married back in 2005 in drums. 5 children, 10 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild on the way when he passed away September 13. Kenneth Richot. Daniel Lee Schultz. He was 76. He was from Orangeville. We lost him September 20th. Born in Berwick, graduate of Central Columbia High School. He attended Penn State University before serving us in the United States Air Force. In the Air Force, Dan was an instrumentation mechanic technician stationed at a secret headquarters space and missile system organization facility in California. After service, he studied TV repair in Denver. He then became an associate instructor of electronics at Denver Community College. Recruited from there to work for General Motors in their high-altitude admission lab in Denver. He retired from there and then moved back to Pennsylvania, working at his father's electroplating shop. He went on to get a job at Bloomsburg University, working in the carpenter shop as a locksmith until he retired. He was a big outdoorsman, fly fishing, trips to Alaska, Canada, hunting out west. He also enjoyed his cabin here in Sullivan County. He loved woodworking, always had beautiful flowers in his yard. He had a great sense of humor and could always make his wife laugh. He loved his favorite cat, Pooh Butt, and a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Many family members survive him and remember him, Daniel Lee Schultz. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and the great Basiliga Hospitality. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, cloudy and muggy with rain, 72 degrees. Well, it's raining. It's 69 degrees outside the studio right now. Tonight, cloudy with rain tapering off, 62. Friday, partly sunny with a chance of a shower, 75. Saturday, partly sunny, 77. Sunday, partly sunny, 75 degrees. Okay, a rain out today. We'll survive. Who's this Bulldog? The Temptations? By the way, thank you, J.D. Vance, for that unequivocal statement about these left-wing idiots causing all kinds of nightmares. They did it to cops. Now they're doing it to ICE. Our law enforcement needs to be defended, needs the support of the community, not the disgraceful attacks from the left, the Democrat Party. This is the Temptations. It says on my script, The Tears, so I almost did a Ron Burgundy. They started recording the song that would become their biggest hit, My Girl. Motown Hitsville, USA Studios, Detroit, Michigan. By the way, on the George Banks assassin murder, I'm not laughing about the murder. Murph texts in, he says, myself and the late Richard Carr were heading to a Penn State game. Just got on 81 past MJ Cordaro's on our right, opened a beer, and there's about 10 state police cars behind us with lights and sirens blaring. Richard says, hide the beer. They were heading to the George Banks murders. Now, there's a different perspective. Let's go to Larry from Plymouth, who always has a different perspective for us. Larry, how are you, my friend?
I'm okay, Bob. Hey, Bob, I knew a guy and his wife who worked with George Banks, sent to Salvation Army. You know, but
did they speculate on what made him snap?
No, they never thought. No, he just flipped out, or I don't know. He said he didn't want his kids to go through what he went through.
Oh Lord! Well, he made sure of that, didn't he?
Yeah. And the guy across the street, he was just an innocent guy. He knew a guy that knew him too. He was walking down the street. And he saw George Banks with the gun, and he yelled over to him, "Hey, I know you!" And that's when he shot him.
Oh.
But
so there were randos involved in the shooting. I thought it was mostly family.
Oh. It was the other guy. He was no relation.
Wow.
But anyway, Bob, I'll tell you what. You said you like your mailman. My mailman's a jerk. In fact, what I do, Bob, around Halloween, I put these things out in the yard. When you walk by them, they jump up and down and scream at you. I try to scare the hell out of them.
Oh, we have a great mailman. I mean, we have different mail people because we have a mail woman as well. But we love our mailmen. They're great.
My mailman, he's my mailman for 25 years. He spoke to me one time, and that's because he almost tripped over me.
Oh, maybe he doesn't like you. Maybe
Probably
it's
not.
your fault.
There's not a lot of people that do, Bob.
Well, Larry, maybe it's your fault.
but anyway, Bob, I got to tell you.
Go ahead.
Bob, you got some sick people working at your station. I don't want to mention any names, but this morning they said that there is no proof that guy did the ICE shooting, that he is a crazy liberal. and they said that the bullets that they found could have been planted by the FBI. Bob, that's sick.
See, that the left-wing lines are all insane. And there's no excuse for him, but that's what we're hearing. Ugh.
And
That's the left-wing line, by the way. That was the CNN expert. That's where they got it. The CNN expert, and then all the left-wing lunatics repeat it.
Yep, but
it's disgusting.
What all these Democrats are saying, Bob, they're going to get people killed. And, they keep saying that Trump is Hitler and this and that.
Yep.
Well, there's proof that he's not, Bob, because if he was, they wouldn't be around to say that.
I know. It's
Bob,
such.
What I want to say was,
what do you have to do to be a leftist? You have to be a liar. You have to be a hypocrite, and you have to be divorced from reality. That's the three qualifications. Oh, and you have to have zero self-awareness. That's the other.
Yeah, exactly. But Bob, I'll tell you what. I didn't watch much of the Charlie Kirk Memorial, but I didn't like what his wife said that she forgive him, because that would never be me, Bob. I never forgive. I never forget. And I'll take a quote from the Bible: "Vengeance is mine. Say it's Larry from Plymouth." I would never, ever forgive it. I would never forgive the guy, Bob. But I got just one more thing. I agreed with Charlie on a lot of things. But, he was a very religious guy, talked about God all the time and everything. And he used to say about, like, the Democrats, that they don't believe in God and everything. Well, here's my conundrum, Bob. I don't believe in God either, but I agree with him on a lot of stuff, and I'm a conservative. So where does that leave me?
It won't leave you anywhere. It leaves you having common sense. Religion requires faith.
Yes, well, see, that's what, Bob. I don't see any proof of anything, so I don't want to go around saying, well, I believe and all this stuff if I don't, because I'd only be lying to you and to myself.
Well, I was telling the priest last night my story about my friend in prison. We were walking around the track. We would do so often. He reminded me of my friend Frank Pizzalia, so I used to call the guy Coach. And he would tell me, there's no God. Tell me, how could there be a God with all of these children being molested and killed and getting sick and everything? I said, because we were given free will from the beginning. And all of those horrendous decisions have culminated into where we are today. And that has nothing to do with God unless he takes away free will to clean us up. I said, but on the other hand, I said, if I'm wrong and there's no God and I die, there might be some alien or something laughing, just getting a kick out of me. If you die and there's a vengeful God, there's not much help for you. So I admire your courage, Larry. I do.
But here's the thing, Bob. Here's the thing. You're saying that God, but Bob, when people pray, right, and then they say, they'll pray 100 times, nothing happens, and then they pray, oh, geez, God saved me, God saved me. Let me tell you, Bob, God never saved anybody, and he never will. Believe me. Believe me.
I 1,000% disagree with that. Number one, prayers are not often answered because, again, it would miracles override free will. They override what is and what exists. And so God's not going to be intervening constantly. There's a little bit of arrogance to praying for things. But at the same time, it shows that you have faith that you know that God could do it.
But so what you're saying is he made us, and then he said, I'll see you. I'm going someplace else.
No, he said you got free will. Otherwise, there's no point of creating you in the first place. You have free will. If you screw it up, and it screws up the next generation, and it has ripples all throughout the society and all this. Like the guy who killed Charlie Kirk. Think of the ripples throughout the world for what the evil that he committed. Well, that's his free will to do it. Should God intervene and stop the bullet? No.
And here's I know someone who said, Bob, that guy didn't do it. and that was when he was running on the roof, and those pictures were AI. But here's one thing that you can't change, Bob. They found his DNA on the rifle, and you can't fake that.
Yep.
You know, he did it 100%. There may have been other people in it with him, but as far as him pulling that trigger, he
admitted it to his lover. I mean, come on.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, well, but Larry, always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure to talk to you, Bob.
All right. Somebody said they want to go to Reds or the Polish Connection with you. So maybe we'll get to them next time next time we come down. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So, okay. Thanks, Bob.
Larry, have a good one.
You too.
We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll return. Fontanella Bass. Murph says this date, 65, released their hit, Rescue Me. And what a great song it is, huh? I didn't know it was Fontella Bass. Bob Cordaro back, doing the usual in the midst of the commercials. We had this discussion, really amongst ourselves. There is an odious, mentally ill columnist for the Scranton Times. And I was discussing the reasons why, first of all, there's no value to have him in the studio, and I've offered you to call in. Chris Kelly, call in anytime. If you want to schedule it for a particular time, I'll give you a scheduled time. And we will talk to you and hear whatever lunacy you have to offer. He's afraid to do that because he knows our audience is bigger than the people who read his ridiculous column. By the way, occasionally good. When Trump derangement syndrome and his other mental illnesses don't impinge, and he's talking about real people. But just the silliness and childishness of, and the reason I bring him up is because he's such a perfect exemplar of the left-wing lunatic. Now, I understand and did not know that Bill Gaughan was on with the morning show today. He's the Lackawanna County Commissioner, who's another insane person. He truly is. An arrogant and condescending and doing a horrible job. And I'm wondering if he got asked about those things on the morning show. My best guess is no, he got a patty cake interview. So, in any event, Chris Kelly's welcome to call in anytime. He also should welcome me to write his column for him one week. I think that would be, by the way, that's the Scranton Times, but they got to pay me, but I'll write a column for you guys. You want to have an actual sane viewpoint on the issues of the day, I'll write for you. You don't even have to pay me what you pay Chris Kelly, but you got to pay me. It could actually revive the newspaper and give people a belief that, well, maybe they do listen and accept other views. Because right now, it is nothing but a decrepit left-wing, understaffed rag. But we'll see. We'll see where this all leads. And again, the invitation stands for Chris Kelly to come and defend one of his columns. And we'll go from there. Defend the Democrat Party. Defend their insane policies. We'll see. And the funny thing that happens, Paige Cognetti, just for example, the mayor of Scranton, she's a left-wing lunatic, completely in the tank with every left-wing lunacy idea there is. The entire idiotic agenda of the Democrat Party. And she's on with Nancy and Jason saying, "Oh, well, yeah, the immigration policies, the open border drove me crazy." Oh, well, we couldn't tell when you were cheering and panting and wagging your tail when Joe Biden came to town, or when you went to see him in Washington, or when you went to see him in Ireland. You agreed with everything they did. Now you're going to try to be normal because you're running for U.S. Congress. Well, don't overlook the race for mayor because there's two good candidates against you. Don't overlook it. All right, it is 11 o'clock. It is time for the news because that's what my Picardo Jewelers watch tells me. Let's do that. We'll come back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. It is 11:08 a.m. here in the great Northeast. That's what my Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me. On a rainy but beautiful Thursday, September 25, 2025, this is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man John Basiliga and just one of his great companies, Basiliga Hospitality, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we lost this year, like Daniel Schultz from Orangeville, Kenneth Richot, Chick-Shinny, Rudy Casarda, Falls Township, Frank Larkin, Scranton, Ricky Jones, Dunmore, Paul Hill, Scranton. We lost them, but celebrate them today. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. And, another hour. By the way, one of our great listeners sent us the obituary for Robert Zivney, a great listener and friend of the program who we lost. And it's really a good obit. But just wanted to mention that and thank Max from Mountaintop is who he was, and we lost him. And a friend of ours, Jim, sent it in. And we'll miss him. It's always, we are a family here. We're large, we're dysfunctional, but we are a family nevertheless. And it's sad stuff. Hey, my man Frank from North Scranton's been patient. How are you, Frank? Thanks for hanging in with us.
I'm doing pretty good, Bob. How are you?
Great.
Okay. No, I was listening to your one of your callers there, and you said, and very, very rightly, that we have free will. And people who don't believe, that's their prerogative.
Correct.
They don't have to. But
Frank,
better.
it's an awfully courageous stand.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I've had so many things that happened to me in my life. Like the man said that God doesn't help anyone or he doesn't save anyone. I have so many things that happen in my life. I'm 81 years old now. I drove truck for 40 years. I was in the military, and I had a lot of things happen. And they cannot be attributed to luck or coincidence.
Yeah.
I had a truck accident where I was thrown through the windshield and hit the ground, and cab came down on top of me, and that's where I stayed for 2 hours.
Oh my God!
And I got up, or they got me out with a fire truck with airbags, and life-flighted me down to Lehigh Valley Trauma Center, and that's where I stayed for a week. And they told me that without the other damage I had to my body, my left arm didn't work anymore. My neck was from when I hit the ground. That's what caused the arm to not work. And they fixed that. They opened my neck up, and they fixed it.
Oh.
But anyway, they said I had all my ribs were crushed from the truck falling on me. But they told me that they would heal. And a funny thing, my son was living in Queens, and he came in because my wife called him, and he came to the hospital, and he said, Dad, I have a picture to show you. He said, you are not going to believe this. And I said, why is that? He said, well, it looks like it was posed. He says, in the picture, you have the truck lying on its side, tractor trailer. And, where I was trapped under the cab, you could see. And there's a tow truck which just had pulled up the back side of it to get ready to hook onto the trailer to flip it over. And he said, check this picture out. He says, like I said, it looks like it's posed. It was posed. And I looked at the picture, and then as I looked from the front of tractor to down the trailer. Just over the center of the trailer, there was a cross that lit up when the tow trucks threw on their floodlights. WNEP News took the picture at that very instant, and this cross showed up over the trailer. It was nailed to a tree about 25 feet off the pavement in the woods, and that cross showed up. That was telling me,
I think I know this story. Yeah.
That was my proof that someone was watching over me, because I believed all my life.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, I was having trouble breathing, and I had quadruple bypass. And when I woke up, the doctor or the surgeon was sitting there, and I thought to myself, "Oh boy, this is not going to be good." So I jokingly said, "Doctor, what's up, doc?" And he said, "I have something to show you." And surgeons never smile. He just looked at me. He says, "I have something to show you." And I said, "What could that be?" And he said, "Well," he says, "in all my years of opening people up," he says, "I never had this happen." And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I understand you had a truck accident 5 years ago." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You were trapped under it for 2 hours, and all your ribs were broken." I said, "Yeah." He said, "No." I told him, "Well, they told me that it would heal." He said, "Well, they didn't." He said, "When I opened you up, your ribs exploded." He said, "They went all over the place. Their nurses were picking up pieces of ribs. And then he said, I had to get another doctor to help me to wire them back into your chest." And then he asked me, he says, "Now you've been living with that for 5 years." He said, "Didn't you have any pain?" I said, "No, not an ounce of pain." He said, "Once I got to the hospital, I recuperated, and I had no pain until I started having breathing problems." And a year ago, I went to a reunion with the guys that I served with up at the man's house up in the other side of where the prison is, way up there in I can't think of the name of the town. Waymart, yeah. But he has a beautiful big house there, and he had a pool dug behind the house, dug into the ground, and it was just lined with rocks. It was homemade, and he had a little an area where he had it built up where you could jump off into the pool. And I was there with all these guys that I served with, and they were all members of my platoon. I was a platoon sergeant, and I was a scout platoon sergeant. And they served, they were in my platoon. But they invited me to this reunion. And long story short, I was sitting there, and I said to one of my guys, I said, "Boy," I wish I brought my bathing suit. It was so warm, it was probably 90-some degrees in July, and the kids were jumping in the pool, and guys were jumping in, and I said to my one of my soldiers, I said, "I wish I had brought my bathing suit so I could go in there." And he said, "No problem." He said, "I brought 10 of them." So I asked him for one, and then I went over to where this gentleman had 3 steps going into the pool, and I thought that was the shallow end. So I walked down the 3 steps, and as soon as I stepped into the water, I sunk down 15 feet. That was the deep end, and I have bad shoulders from my accident and from driving truck. I had one time I had a problem. I fell and I tore up my left shoulder, and then another time I tore up my right shoulder, and then the accident just tore them back up, even though they were repaired. But I couldn't swim, so I got myself back up to the surface 3 times. I thought to myself, I go down again, I'm not coming back up, because that's how tired I was from trying to stay on the surface. And there was one young man in there. He was the son of one of my soldiers. And he heard me quietly say, I had no strength left. I just said, "Help," as loud as I could, but was very. He heard me, and he came over and he caught me as I went down the fourth time. He pulled me over. He said, brought me over to the shallow side, pulled me out of the pool, and they revived me. And just like I said, there were too many things. Those are only a couple of the things that happened to me in my life that they're unexplainable. So I mean, I believe wholeheartedly that there is a God, and like I said, people who don't want to believe, that's their prerogative. But they may find out.
They may find
out. Yeah. They may find out later.
I know it.
But I mean,
I
mean, I could have drowned. I could have drowned.
Well, Frank, thank you for. We got to go to break, but thank you for relating all that to us. I appreciate it.
Okay, when you see Colonel Clyde Brown again, I want you to say to him.
I've never saw him. I was just I was just bragging about him because of the Archibald Memorial. Yeah.
Okay, but if you do see him, you tell him that our Cab Scout motto was, you would look at like somebody from a tanker unit. You'd say, "If you ain't Cav, you ain't spit." I'm using your terminology there. But please,
I like it. I like it.
If you see Colonel Brown, I know him very well, and you tell him that, and he'll laugh.
Great.
I guarantee it. Okay.
Thanks,
all right. I used up a lot of your time.
All right.
And you have a lovely day and a good weekend.
It was worth the time. Frank from North Scranton. We'll take a break and be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. The Stones. Murph says this date, 1965. They released their hit "Get Off My Cloud" in the U.S. And history was made. Let's go to Sherry from Tunkhannock. Hi, Sherry. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. Sherry?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes, I am. Are you ready?
Well, you called me.
Okay.
Yeah, I answered.
Okay. Okay.
I'm always silent when I listen.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm just calling to discuss two quick topics. And one is about sensationalizing those who kill, and the other is about mental illness. And I wanted to think, or I think, that if we didn't sensationalize killers, but we do because we all have to know who did it, why they did it, all that kind of thing. And that's pretty sad when the whole thing centers around that and not the affected. And it was interesting. I was listening to News Nation one day, and the reporter was reporting on a church shooting. And he said, "Don't worry, we'll all forget about this by Monday." And he was absolutely correct. So don't have stopping the
and isn't that sad? That's sad in and of itself, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like really playing on me. And this was way before the Charlie Kirk thing. And so I don't even know if stopping sensationalizing would even help, because I don't think it will stop. I don't even know a way to begin to stop. I was listening to someone last night. It actually was Bill O'Reilly, and he's just saying, "Oh, he's got mental illness. He's got mental illness," and it was crushing me to the bone, because how do they know if it's diagnosed or not? And it just really bothered me. And that diagnosis is given out just so freely, and not every suspect has a mental illness. There's other reasons that they, do what they did. And I got thinking, back years ago, gosh, I was in high school.
And Sherry, we can never overlook, and they want to overlook in the media, evil. They want to overlook the influence of the devil and evil.
Yes.
They want to overlook that.
And I've spoken with a lot of people about evil versus mental illness. And this one particular person I was speaking with, I said, there are people that are just evil. He goes, "Well, if you're evil, you have a mental illness." I'm like, no.
No, not necessarily.
I said, no. Then I went through a bunch of names with him. Oh, yeah, they were evil, weren't they? Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, when I was in high school, the Park Summit State Hospital was open, okay? And that basically became their home. We kept the mentally ill safe, those who were resistant to treatment or just couldn't have anybody to help them with their treatment. However, that's not exactly how it is anymore.
No.
And I feel as Americans, we need to make sure those people become safe. We don't place enough on that. It's like, they have mental illness.
Sherry, I had a platform that I developed prior to the presidential election. One of the planks of the platform was that homeless people, they will be institutionalized if they don't get off the street on their own, and they'll get treatment for their mental illnesses. They'll get treatment for their drug addiction at these institutions, and that we've got to do a Manhattan Project to develop and redevelop these institutions where they can live safely and have a chance to get out and live a normal life. Nobody should be living on the streets anymore, just for one example.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But, that Park Summit thing came to mind. I actually know
the left made it compassionate to let them, to not treat them. To say, it's okay. That's what the left did. And by the way, a lot of other normal people went along with it because it saved money. So.
But in the long run, did it save anything if they killed somebody?
I agree. I agree.
And I know someone who got out of Park Summit, discharged because they were okay, and then they committed suicide. So, I don't know. I just felt like when I was after I was a high schooler, and I saw how they were all interacting, and that has been with me forever, how they were interacting with each other, and they were perfectly, good with each other. Sure, there were little outbreaks going on here and there, but I felt now as an adult, they were safe there.
Yes.
And I am definitely against immediate oh, they've got mental illness. I'm definitely against that. Show me the diagnosis, you know.
We need
But I know that won't
reinstitutional.
happen in this
Yeah.
world.
Well,
Yeah.
we need prisons for evil.
Right.
We need
Right.
and stupidity, and we need mental institutions for people with those issues. And for whatever reason, there's a move and there's a continuing drone on the left and out of the Democrat Party to not institutionalize anybody. And that's what keeps
but then they look
society
better.
safe, and that's what keeps them safe.
Exactly.
Yep.
But no society is safe. And many years ago, at Robert Parker Hospital, so not cutting them down, but they had an awesome outpatient program, and most of the patients were Medicaid. So when they claimed that they weren't making any money, guess what they did? Shut it down. So now these outpatient people had nowhere to go. They did have an inpatient unit, but like maybe 15 beds. I mean, that's a lot of beds, you know. So
If we get past the ideology, we may be able to create institutions to help people with drug addiction and mental illness. Right now, it ain't happening, and we're reaping the unfortunate whirlwind of those decisions.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just sad, you know. It just gets to me. But I wanted to let people know to think about their safety and to think about why do we wait to the TV till we find out who it is, why they did it, you know?
Yep.
We're crazy for doing that.
I'm with you, Sherry. Thank you so much. Great pleasure.
Okay.
Do it again.
Bye.
All right.
Okay, I will. All right, bye.
We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll come back with our veterans tribute this hour. And but first, we got to hear from our great sponsors who make all of this possible. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. It's the weekend. It's here, baby. Great bar restaurants. Old Brook Inn, Springbrook Township, 307. Far Street Tavern on Far Street in the Trips Park section of Scranton. The Queen City Tavern. The Main Dragon Oliphant. Fine dining? Oh, yeah, we got that. The Stegmeyer Mansion. It's like going to Newport and being able to sit down and have a class meal. It's amazing. Stegmeyer Mansion, downtown Wilkes-Barre. Terra 519, Scranton. Amazing, amazing new cuisine. And Sergei's Live. The nightclub will be open tonight. Paul Hill, a friend of the show, Bernadette Bisacco from Scranton, sent us this obit, which I did not have, for Paul Hill. And I knew Paul. He was 83 when he passed June 9th. His wife of 50 years, Lois Myers Hill, she passed in 2022. Paul was born in Scranton, 1960 graduate of West Scranton High School. He worked at A&P Food Stores as a teenager and continued working there until the A&Ps closed in the 70s. He served us in the U.S. Army and was stationed at the Nike Missile Base in Clementon, New Jersey, and in Texas. He later joined the Army Reserves. Paul always wanted to be a business owner. He fulfilled that dream when he became the owner-operator of Paul's Pub, a friendly neighborhood West Side tavern, for over 40 years. He loved his customers. He treated them like family. He's survived by sisters, his son, grandsons, great-grandchildren, and many other family members. Paul Hill. And special thanks to Bernadette Bisacco for sending us that obit. Richard Jones, Dunmore. What a great guy. We lost him January 9th. His wife, Mary Ellen, she passed in 2016. Rick was born in Scranton, graduate Abington's Heights High School, where he lettered in both track and basketball. He served us in the United States Navy. Never talked about it, never bragged about it. Prior to retirement, he was employed by Moses Taylor Hospital for over 40 years until needing care for his wife. He was a member of the St. Anthony's and St. Rocco's Parish in Dunmore and could always be found frying pizza frita at the annual Italian festival. Active member of the Wednesday Night Golf League at Pine Hills. Avid sports fan, including of the Dunmore Bucks. Surviving his daughter, Lori, and husband, Chris, the Murrays, his grandsons, and other family members. Good guy, Ricky Jones. Our veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. Oh, that means the weather. Storm Tracker 16 forecast for meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, cloudy and muggy with rain, 72. It is 70 outside the studios right now. Tonight, cloudy with rain tapering off down to 62. Friday, partly sunny. Chance of a shower, 75. Saturday, partly sunny, 77. Sunday, partly sunny, 75 degrees. Murph says the Beatles recorded their hit Fool on the Hill at Abbey Road Studios, London, England. This date, 1967. He says, no, it wasn't about Chris Kelly. Well, maybe it was, Murph says. And, of course, Kamala. The more she says, the worse it gets. It's just like the election. Hey, our Congressman Dan Muser, he's on the blower. He wants to tell us something, and he is welcome anytime, any place. Congressman Muser, welcome. How are you?
Bob, I'm doing great. It's so great that you give such tribute to our military heroes. We just had a big event at Bloomsburg yesterday for Military Day. And it was also nice of you to share those comments from Kamala that were upside down and backwards.
I know.
It's getting crazy out there.
Trump's demanding an apology because she keeps saying this lie that it was the closest election in the 21st century. Lordy Lord.
Unbelievable. I'm just glad to be on the sanctuary of sanity for a little while because it's crazy out here. So I'm roaming around the district this week. It's been great, from Berks to Luzerne, of course, to Schuylkill, to Williamsport, to Bloomsburg, man. We got Stacey Garrity coming in tomorrow evening, and she's on her governor candidate tour. And you know what? Things are just not going well. People are feeling good about things, throughout the district for the work we're doing in D.C. It can always be better, but, I mean, let's face it, our border, our national security, recruitment is up in our military. Gasoline prices are coming down. The economy is strong. The world is at least talking. It's not stable yet, but we're talking. And in general, revenues are up and spending is down and business is good. And you know what? It's driving the left crazy.
I know. And they're already off track and they're getting worse. I did not think that the Trump election and by the way, and the failure of Democrat left-wing policies during the Biden administration, I thought it would chasten them and make them learn and say, all right, we're off track. No, they got worse.
Yeah. They're doubling down. I mean, the level of irrationality is incredible. I mean, and let's face it, dangerous. We saw what happened with ICE yesterday. Yes. I mean, what a surprise. They call ICE, their leadership calls them the reign of terror. They call them that complete, utter, I can't think of a better word than moron. Yeah. Tim Walz refers to them as the Gestapo. There are people out there that actually start believing this stuff, just like they did on Charlie Kirk, and they take very, very hateful, violent action. They're just radicalized, and just enough already. The level of lies are just absurd regarding some our police, our ICE, our president, the Republicans in general. And we got to maintain the high road, but it's not on both sides at this point. It's you could always pick out this, that, and the other thing from the right, but I mean it's overwhelming from the left. And now they're taking it on policy, Bob, by going to shut down the government for no good reasons.
And they want two of the demands are continued funding for child mutilation. For transgender surgeries and so forth, and for giving Medicaid benefits to illegals.
That's right.
That's where they want to make their stand. It's Babylon Bee, which I read all the time. I get it sent to my email. It's not even an exaggeration anymore. But they put here, people okay with murder outraged by TV show cancellation. Talking about Jimmy Kimmel. They're in upside down world.
And Jimmy Kimmel, let's face it, that was a business decision. They were looking for a reason to get rid of him. I mean, his ratings were down 48% just in the last year. But all that being said, as you said, they know that their demands, and these are demands, right? Jeffries and Schumer want to meet with the president and go over their demands. And as you said, the demands are to reverse $1.4 trillion in savings from the one big beautiful bill, to allow illegals don't audit Medicaid rolls, allow illegals to receive, restore NPR and PBS and funding, which was $9 billion total. And I have not necessarily any problem with them, except they're highly biased, and we have plenty of channels out there. Why should they receive funding when they're clearly a left-wing, propaganda tool? And us to promise. These are one of the demands. No future reductions. No future rescissions moving forward.
It's insane. I mean, and they double down on insanity and then try to pretend like they're normal.
Yeah. And now they're dragging the ACA things into it. And the American people got to understand, we're well aware of the ACA needs to be redone and extended in the proper way moving forward, but it's not perfect. And many of the reductions that occurred in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act when Biden and Pelosi and everybody was running the show, and they actually allow coverage of subsidies for people, earners up to $500,000, $600,000. So we want to bring some sanity to it and properness to it. But also, get this, 1/3 of the funding from the subsidies goes directly to the insurance companies when they bear no expense. So, because at least 1/3 of those receive those subsidies don't use the coverage, don't even go to the doctor, don't need the insurance coverage. So those are some of the things that we need to tidy up, if you will, bring some accountability. And now they're trying to bring that into it, and now they're going to start saying that we want to throw everybody off their insurance, which is ridiculous. That needs to be dealt with by December 31st, but not today. They're going to shut down the government on September 30th for no good reason other than politics. They think it's in their interests.
Now, the only hope I have is in the past, government shutdowns, because of the bureaucracy being really left-wing, the government unions being left-wing, they would always do things during the government shutdown that affected taxpayers so that they would know the government was shut down, because most people wouldn't know otherwise, whether it's shutting down the national parks or other things that people can immediately perceive, even though they didn't have to be shut down. Is that what they'll do this time?
Yeah, and there's no good reason for it. Look, we threatened shutdowns a couple of times for border security and things of that nature. But honestly, you come to your senses. You say, here, we're going to do this. It's going to last 2 or 3 weeks. And it really sends rattles through a lot of the services. Like TSA will be rattled. They won't be getting paid, and they'll get back pay, but they won't be getting paid. Our military won't be getting paid. Passports will be held up. It's just absolutely unnecessary. And they're doing it to gain attention, to try to show their base, their more than energized base, their radicalized base, that they're fighting against the big bad Trump MAGA Republicans.
Congressman Muser, when you talk, and you've got time for, at least on occasion, for conversations, do you ever ask one of these left-wing Democrats, where do you think the money's coming from? We have a $37 trillion national debt. We were running $2 trillion a year deficits during the Biden administration. Where do you think the money's going? Do they have an answer to that?
Some of them are brainwashed, and I do speak to Democrats often. Some of them are just simply brainwashed. How could we cut this? How could you be on the Small Business Committee and feel it's okay that they reduce the workforce by 20%? You know why? Because under Biden, just on the SBA, the workforce went from 3,200 to 7,000 in a 4-year period. I don't even know where they found all these people, and we want to reduce it by 20%. So unfortunately, most of them are misinformed. Not all. A lot of them will tell you, we want to bring a scalpel, we don't want to bring a hatchet, that sort of thing. Okay, show me where the scalpels are going to be.
They never mention.
And then they'll talk about taxpayer, tax reductions for the wealthy, tax reductions for billionaires. And then I explain to them this. Look, there are 788 billionaires in the United States of America. 788. If they voted for taxes on 155 million tax-paying Americans. Okay, so it's absolute nonsense that there's a billionaire issue. And by the way, and this is proven, 78% of billionaires donate far more to Democrats than they do to Republicans.
Because they're guilty. They feel guilty.
Well, because they're buying government service.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they're doing, and we're not shelling it out. President Trump has one special interest, and I mean this completely. It's the American people. Everybody else can get online and live with the policies that are best for everybody.
How about the speech at the UN? I mean, telling them the truth right to their faces about mass migration and its idiocy, talking to them about this the Green New Scam and calling it a con job. I just thought it was perfect. I really did.
Well, he tells it like it is.
And that they're not doing that. The United Nations has plenty of potential, but right now you suck.
Right, and you broke the escalator on me, and my teleprompter's off.
Crazy stuff.
Hey, real quick. I'm walking into a Tom Mosca for judge in Luzerne County event. He's a great guy. He's going to be the best of judges. He's constitutional. He's fair. He gets it. He's been serving the community for decades now. So my full endorsement, and get out to vote. Send in your mail-in ballot for Tom Mosca for judge in Luzerne County, if you don't mind the commercial.
Whatever you want, Congressman. We're in. We're in on it. Thank you.
All right. You're the best, Bob.
Right.
I appreciate you very much.
Thank you for checking in. Congressman Dan Muser, our congressman. We'll take a break and be back after this. Well, we're finishing with the Stones. Murph was at this concert. This date, 1981, JFK Stadium, Philly. They recorded the concert for their live album, Let's Spend the Night Together. Murph was there. We went down in Chucky's American van and had a great time. We missed a couple other great songs we wanted to get in, but, you know, time is time. That's all we got. And Cordaro Jewelers tells us it's 12 o'clock and change, which means I got to go. Well, I will. Unwillingly, but I'll go because Sue Henry show's next. Rob O'Donnell show after that. We're remembering our veterans. Rick Jones, Dunmore. Paul Hill, West Scranton. Frank Larkin, Scranton, Dunmore High School teacher. Rudy Casarda, Falls Township. Kenneth Richot, Shinny. And Daniel Schultz, Orangeville. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning. But for now, I've got to say goodbye and gavel to a close this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. Great to be with you. You know that. Adios.